Hello everyone, it's Jose here. The topic for today is performance assessments, also called performance reviews. So before we begin, I just wanted to ask a few questions. How many of you do your performance reviews on an annual, quarterly, or maybe on an anniversary date basis? Now, most organizations are going to say they do them on an annual basis. It actually doesn't matter. According to the law, most of you, no matter where around the world, as long as you have one, then you are following your employment standards. Now, the topic for today is why performance assessments are so important. But before I go into that, I'm just going to share a little story with you. When I worked on cruise ships, I had a leader of a very big department that was in the office right next door to me. Sometimes we would even knock on the walls because they were so thin and we would tease each other. One day during performance assessment time, we were going for lunch. And as we were crossing each other in the doorway of the lunchroom, I asked him how his performance assessments were going. He got all stressed out. He started sweating. It was just extremely emotional. So I decided to go back to his office with him and have a discussion. And I asked him, "What's going on? How many performance assessments have you done? Why are you feeling this way?" And he said they were going great, but he had about 12 left that was really stressing him out. And I said, "Well, why?" He said, "Because those are the people that are not performing well." So he was really nervous about having those discussions. I started laughing, which is not appropriate, but I did. And I was laughing so much, I think I probably was crying. He got so mad at me, he threw a book at me. It was a small book, but he still threw a book at me. And I asked him, "Do you know why you're waiting?" And he said, "Yes, because I'm nervous." And I said, "But how long have you been waiting to do these?" And it was upwards of 2 weeks. So in my mind, I was now looking at him saying, "Do you understand? You have stressed yourself out for 2 weeks." So the fact that he wasn't sleeping, was very emotional, was all self-induced. Now I understand that having these conversations can be challenging, but there are ways to make them easier. So after we got over the laughing and him being upset with me, he obviously realized that it was important to have these conversations at the beginning of the performance review time as opposed to the end. So now I'm going to go back to all of you. And why do you think it's so important to have these conversations at the beginning as opposed to the end? And I know many of you are going to say, "Well, it's easier." And that's it. It's as simple as that. When you have challenging conversations, why should you wait? Most of your employees don't know what type of conversation you're going to have, so they're not really losing sleep. You're the one that's losing sleep. And what happens is you portray your emotions on people so you can actually make that conversation more uncomfortable than it needs to be. So our first tip for today is to always have any type of conversation with an employee as soon as possible, even preferably within 48 hours. So if you have great performance reviews to do with people, leave them until the end and have all of your challenging conversations at the very beginning of your sessions. Our second tip for today, we have to remember to check our emotions at the door. We know as leaders that it can be difficult, and I'm not saying that it's ever going to be perfect, but it does get easier with time. When you realize that it's not about you, it is about the employee. So as long as you can check your emotions at the door and truly focus on that employee, the conversation's going to be easier because you feel easier. So whenever you decide to do your performance reviews, whether they are quarterly, annually, or on someone's anniversary date, always remember to do them in a timely manner and be very careful about your own emotions. I hope this was a helpful tip for everyone today. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you again.